Welcome to the deep dive. We cut through the noise, get you informed fast. Today, we're getting into something that, well, it touches a lot of lives. The whole journey of fertility treatments. It's often complex, emotional too. Specifically, IVF, in vitro fertilization. Now, you might think of acupuncture for, stress relief or maybe pain, but what if it actually plays a much bigger role, like a scientifically backed role in boosting fertility success? That's what the sources seem to suggest. So our mission today really is to unpack this stack of research we've looked at. It details how acupuncture fits in, how it supports both male and female fertility. We're going to try and cut through all the noise, give you clear insights, figure out how this ancient practice is finding a really crucial place in modern reproductive medicine.
Yeah, and it's important to say this isn't just like stories people tell, the material we dug into. It shows specific biological mechanisms, real research, stuff that supports acupuncture's tangible benefits for fertility. It moves it beyond just an interesting idea. It's looking like proven complementary support.
Okay, so if it's more than just like calming nerves, what did the research really pin down as its main role, especially for couples doing IVF?
Well, what's really striking, I think, is how comprehensive it is. It seems to act on multiple fronts at once. So, yeah, relaxation's part of it, but the evidence shows it's actively aiming to enhance embryo implantation and optimize the quality of eggs and sperm, too, balance hormones, and, importantly, reduce that huge emotional stress that just comes with fertility struggles. And there's a growing body of science backing all this up. It's really about optimizing the whole system.
That makes a lot of sense, especially when you think about how intense IVF is. The sources really hammered home that the embryo transfer phase is like super critical. Why is that stage so pivotal? And how did acupuncture help with those specific challenges?
Right, well, if you look at the big picture, embryo transfers, where it all comes together. Success isn't just the embryo itself. It's hugely dependent on how receptive the uterus is. Things like uterine contractions, not enough blood flow, hormonal imbalances, stress, they can all undermine implantation. So what the research suggests is that acupuncture helps prepare the body. It seems to improve uterine circulation, calm the uterus down, support hormonal balance, basically aiming to create the best possible environment for that embryo to attach and, grow, getting that landing strip just right, essentially.
Right, the landing strip. So, okay, what about the numbers, the actual data? The sources mentioned some pretty compelling research. Can you walk us through some key findings? What benefits did they actually prove?
Yeah, the evidence is quite interesting. There was this one really pivotal study published in Fertility and Sterility back in 2002. Paulus and colleagues, they found something pretty remarkable. Women who got acupuncture on the day of their transfer, they had a 42.5% pregnancy rate.
Wow, compared to
26.3% in the group that didn't get acupuncture.
That's a big difference.
It really is. And it wasn't just a one-off finding. Other studies, clinical trials, meta-analyses, they consistently back this up. They show acupuncture improves blood flow to the uterus and ovaries. It reduces those little spasms and contractions in the uterus, balances reproductive hormones. It even seems to modulate immune responses, sort of helping the body welcome the embryo, not fight it.
Okay.
And it decreases stress hormones like cortisol. The bottom line, it significantly increases both clinical pregnancy rates and, crucially, live birth rates.
Okay, those are significant numbers. Wow. So let's drill down a bit. Female fertility specifically. The sources talked a lot about improving egg quality. That's obviously huge for IVF success. How does acupuncture actually do that, like on a biological level?
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting. Acupuncture seems to enhance what's called ovarian microcirculation, basically making sure the eggs get all the oxygen and nutrients they need to mature properly. It helps regulate blood flow right to the ovaries, reduces oxidative stress, that's the stuff that can damage cells, and it supports hormonal balance through that master control system, the hypothalamic pituitary ovarian axis, or HPO axis.
HPO axis.
Exactly. So by optimizing this really delicate hormonal network, it promotes healthier follicle development. And this is key. It seems to improve mitochondrial function within the eggs.
Mitochondria. The powerhouses.
The powerhouse of the cell. They provide that critical energy needed for fertilization and for the embryo to develop properly.
Okay. And what about the uterine lining? You mentioned the landing strip.
Yeah.
It needs to be perfect, right?
Exactly. You need good endometrial perfusion. That's just healthy blood flow to the lining. Acupuncture seems to enhance that circulation. It helps relax the artery walls, promotes oxygen and nutrient delivery right to the lining. It's literally encouraging a more nurturing, more receptive environment for the embryo.
Makes sense. So beyond the purely physical stuff, what about hormones and stress for women? There's such a massive factors. How does acupuncture tackle those?
It really seems to excel here. It helps stabilize that HPO axis we mentioned,
Yeah.
optimizing those key hormones like FSH, follicle-stimulating hormone, LH, luteinizing hormone, estrogen, progesterone, all of which are crucial for stimulating the ovaries and preparing the uterus.
Mm.
And by activating the parasympathetic nervous system, that's the rest and digest system, acupuncture actively decreases uterine contractions, those little muscle spasms that can interfere with implantation. And then on the stress front, it stimulates the release of endorphins and serotonin, the natural feel-good chemicals. This calms the nervous system right down, lowers cortisol, the main stress hormone, and that counteracts the negative impact stress can have on fertility. Imagine the relief during such an anxious time.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, that's a lot on the female side. But we shouldn't forget the guys. The sources were clear. Male factors are involved in nearly half of all infertility cases. It's often overlooked. So how does acupuncture fit in there? Can it help with things like low sperm count or motility?
That's a really critical point because, yes, male fertility is just as vital and often doesn't get the same attention. Acupuncture seems to address several key issues. Low sperm count, that's oligospermia. Poor morphology, misshapen sperm. Reduced motility, asthenosospermia, basically, how well they swim. And even sperm DNA fragmentation, which affects their genetic quality.
How does it work for men then?
Well, it seems to increase sperm count and improve morphology, partly by enhancing blood flow to the testicles and regulating hormones. It also appears to boost sperm motility, maybe by reducing oxidative stress and improving microcirculation down there. And significantly, it can reduce that DNA fragmentation, leading to better sperm integrity and potentially better embryo quality. Plus, it helps balance key male reproductive hormones like testosterone, LH, FSH, supporting the whole sperm production process, spermatogenesis.
So there are actual studies showing improvements.
Yes, multiple studies show measurable improvements in these semen parameters. It's definitely not just for women.
Okay, so given all these benefits for both partners, timing. Is there an optimal schedule? When should someone actually do acupuncture during an IVF cycle to get the most out of it? Are certain times more critical?
Yeah, the timing does seem important. To really maximize the benefits, the sources suggest a pretty specific schedule. Ideally, twice weekly sessions for about 3 to 4 months before even starting the IVF meds.
Wow, that far in advance.
Ideally, yes. Or at the very least, start as soon as you can before the medication cycle begins. Then there's a really critical window around the embryo transfer. One session about 1.5 to 2 hours before the transfer, and then another one pretty soon after, within maybe 1 to 1.5 hours post-transfer.
Okay, before and after.
Exactly. And then follow-up sessions are recommended maybe twice a week during that, often very stressful 2-week wait.
Why the lead-up time, and why right around transfer?
Well, starting months ahead gives the body time to really improve things like egg quality and uterine receptivity. You're building a better foundation. Those sessions right around the transfer, they're more focused on reducing acute stress and those uterine spasms, really promoting successful implantation right at that crucial moment.
Got it. So who really stands to benefit the most here? Is it for absolutely everyone going through IVF, or are there specific situations where it's especially helpful?
Well, the good news is that it's generally considered safe and beneficial for really nearly all IVF patients. Doesn't seem to matter much about age or the specific diagnosis, but it seems especially helpful for people facing certain challenges. Things like PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, or endometriosis, poor egg quality, immune system imbalances, and definitely for male factor issues like that low sperm count or DNA fragmentation we talked about. Also, patients who've sadly had failed IVF cycles before, or those who experience really high anxiety around the process, they often find it invaluable. It helps enhance not just their physical readiness, but their emotional well-being too, which is so important.
Right. And the sources mention this integrated approach, combining reproductive medicine with traditional Chinese medicine for personalized care. What does that actually mean in practice? Like, what does it look like day to day?
It means it's not just one-size-fits-all thing. It involves creating very customized acupuncture protocols, really focused on improving that individual's specific needs, whether it's egg quality, sperm health, or implantation support. Critically, it also means seamless coordination with the IVF clinic's schedule. You need the treatments timed correctly with the medical procedures.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It also implies the practitioner has real expertise in these complex fertility issues for both men and women. And often it's delivered in a calm, supportive environment, promoting that whole mind-body wellness connection. The ultimate goal is just to increase the chances of IVF success while also nurturing overall reproductive health. And the patient stories shared in the sources, they really back this up. People reporting better egg quality, feeling less stressed, seeing improvements in sperm counts or motility, and just feeling calmer and more physically prepared around the time of the transfer.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. What's the big takeaway here? We've
Yeah.
seen acupuncture isn't just, lying down with some needles to relax. It seems to offer a specific, evidence-backed way to support fertility, optimizing egg quality, sperm quality, calming the uterus, balancing hormones. It really does sound like a vital complement to treatments like IVF.
Yeah, and I think that raises a really important point, and maybe a question for anyone listening who's on this journey. When you're facing something so significant, so personal, how can exploring these kinds of complementary therapies like acupuncture actually empower you? Give you maybe a greater sense of control, help you optimize your chances, recognizing that just knowing about all the available evidence-based options, well, that knowledge itself is key, isn't it?
That is a powerful thought to consider, absolutely. We really hope this deep dive has given you, our listeners, a clearer, maybe more nuanced view of how acupuncture might fit into the picture, how it could potentially increase the chances of achieving a successful pregnancy, whatever your specific fertility challenges might be.